Good afternoon, ninth grade. Today we're going to be starting with some electrostatics. Now, yesterday and the day before we were talking about electricity, but today is your first day of notes. And so we're going to get into this here, and I want you guys to head up your notes, whether you're using Google Docs or you're using actual pen and paper with Intro to Electrostatics. Now, I am going to want to see these, and so just keep them somewhere where you can either take a picture of them or you can send me the file so that I know that you're taking notes on this. Now, from here we start with the history of electrostatics. Of course, the best place to start with anything is the beginning. So, looking here, electrostatics is the study of nature, behavior, and uses of static electricity and related phenomena. So, it's really that simple. It's just, how does static electricity work? What makes it happen? And a very big part of it is this guy up here. Let me get my cursor on, my pointer. This guy here was Thales of Miletus, and he was around in 624 to 546 BC. So this was a pretty long time ago. And he was considered the first person to see and record the effects of static electricity using amber, wool, and straw. Actually, if you look down here at the bottom, you have an example of something that he did. He had this amber that you can see at the bottom right, and he would rub that across the wool, and then that would get an electric charge. And that electric charge would then be able to draw straw toward the amber. And people back then, of course, they didn't know what it was, so they basically told him it was magic. They're like, man, how in the world did you figure this out? This is crazy. What are you doing? What's going on? Well, quite frankly, they thought it was the gods. And the gods were like, hey, when you do this, that, and the other, something's going on, and the amber has a will of its own, and the gods are empowering the amber through the, I don't know what in the world they thought, but the point was, that is what they actually thought. And it was kind of funny. And Thales, he didn't quite think that way, but he was pretty much overrun by those people. People could do this on their own. It was well documented, but they just thought it was something to do with the amber having a will or something like that. Now, from there, through the years, this reaction was classified as electron. You see here, this is obviously not the way we spell our electrons we're going to talk about later, and this is actually the word electron right here. Let me just circle around it. Is very similar to the word for amber back in those days. And this is actually where we get the word electric from. And so that's something very good to know. And believe it or not, the electricity that we deal with, we call it electricity because of the root word for amber. And it goes back to this very first experiment with Thales. He's a pretty influential guy. And just like I tell you guys with your STEM fair projects, record what you do, because that is what's going to make you famous. It don't matter if you do it, you have to record it as well. Now, from here we get into more history of electrostatics. We have two very famous people. The one at the bottom left, I'm pretty sure you guys have all seen before, at least hope you have. And the one at the top right, probably new. So right here, William Gilbert, a scientist in the 16th century, then conducted many experiments figuring out other things that could be charged, not just amber. And so when Thales did that experiment, he was literally giving an electric charge to that amber. That's why it did what it did. Now, this guy up here is William Gilbert. And he made a book. And in his book, he talked about all these things here. And it was called De Magnete. And he named the substances that were able to get this charge electrics. And so he basically was saying at that time they were very similar to amber, because amber could get this charge, and there are other substances that can get the charge as well. And so they were like amber or electrics. So that's something for you guys to know there. Going on from there, then Benjamin Franklin, the guy at the bottom left that you guys should all know, through experimentation discovered that static electricity comes in two forms. So there were two different charges going on here. There was a positive charge and a negative charge. And the reason for these things all comes about when we do some more experimentation. And you see more stuff going on later on. And so Benjamin Franklin didn't really understand electricity the way that a lot of people give him credit for understanding it. He still did a lot of work. I'm not trying to take away from him, but he didn't know as much as we know now. Ben also discovered that lightning is made of static electricity, which is something huge, and oftentimes this is where the whole kite with the key and the lightning comes in. A lot of people argue whether that story is true or not. I'm not quite sure myself. I am not a historian, but whatever the case may be, Benjamin Franklin is, however, credited for discovering that lightning is made from static electricity. And I'm pretty sure other people had thought similar things before, but Benjamin Franklin was the first person to really get his idea popularized. Now we're going to stop this first part of the video right here, and then we're going to finish out with the second part of the video coming up very soon. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening, and see you in part 2.